So a few questions raised here as to what happened and what the legalities are. Of course, this was posted on X, so there's some criticism you might expect. This is a video by Cycling Mikey, who's also here on YouTube. I'll link below as well. I'll link this original video there as well. So let's wind all the way back to the beginning, see what really happened, and then we'll digest it some. So you can see right from the outset in this video, there's police over on the right-hand side of the frame, police vehicle, and you can see behind it, let me mute the video, just behind it there are police officers there speaking to a suspect. There are two officers there, and as you see later, there will be more. They are speaking to this suspect on the right-hand side of the road. Mike obviously realizes that they are speaking to this chap, takes note of it, and remains aware of what's going on. I'll bring the volume back to some degree. And then you see here, that suspect crosses the road, makes off from the police. Now this bit here, I'll wind back just a tick. You'll hear the police shout, "Police armed with a taser," which will be an important factor later on in the analysis of this video and the use of force. So listen to this bit. Now, there are two things that happen there. Three, if you include the police shouting, "Police armed with a taser." So the police warned the suspect that they are armed with a taser. In other words, you should stop or you might get tased. Then obviously Mike intervenes, trips the guy who falls. But the third one you may not have spotted. If we go forward a little bit and watch this slow motion version, watch his right hand. There it is. Throws a bag, suspiciously like a bag of white powder, over the hedge, and I suspect the police found it. So that would suggest that's the reason the police are speaking to him, that he might well have been in the possession of a controlled substance. So the questions raised here are, what about the use of force? Now, of course, this being on X, somebody did pop along and say that this was an assault. If I just find that comment now, Coco Brown pops up to say, "Assault, civil suit, and it's against the law for cycling on the pavement." Well, Mike wasn't cycling on the pavement. He moved onto the pavement to prevent the suspect from escaping. But I don't think for a moment that the police are going to be too fussed about the bike being on the pavement. Neither is it a civil suit for assault. The reason I say that is captured within my response here, which is that I suggest Coco reads up on Section 3 of the Criminal Law Act 1967, which I would be, as I said here, I would be quoting back to any overambitious suspect who tried to sue me for doing what Mike did in this video. Section 3 of the Criminal Law Act 1967 replaces the common law provisions for the use of force in making or assisting in a lawful arrest of offenders or suspected offenders. Very much similar to the use of force for self-defense. Now, self-defense, obviously, the circumstances that someone genuinely believes them to be requires the use of force, and then uses force that is then deemed to be reasonable in the circumstances, which is different for householder cases, which I've covered in other videos. But that is similar to the use of force in making an arrest, only this section here codifies and replaces the common law provisions for that used when making or assisting in an arrest. The CPS view confirms that the use of force in this common law test, in the case of Palmer, is useful when considering a Section 3 use of force for the prevention of crime or affecting or assisting in the lawful arrest of offenders or suspected offenders. So this would be the CPS's view on it. Now, I do have to caveat here that neither the CPS, the police, nor any official body is going to encourage vigilantism and taking the law into your own hands and so on. In fact, and the courts don't recommend that either, but in the case that presents itself, but in the circumstances that do lend themselves to a bit of help for the police, such as this case here, particularly as you'll recall the police shouting, "Police armed with a taser," as the suspect was running away, this would very firmly establish that there was a genuine belief at the time that it was necessary to use force to assist in the lawful arrest of that suspected offender. The police quite clearly were able to apprehend that suspect afterwards. So if there were any overly zealous civil suit brought by this chap, this, in my view, not that it's legal advice, of course, but in my view, this would be a perfectly reasonable defense to run. And on the face of it, I cannot see any court giving any weight to any claim of assault there, given that the police clearly were trying to apprehend him, did apprehend him, and the force was useful. And in the circumstances, clearly, as they were genuinely believed to be from watching this video, and then the use of force was only that which was necessary. It is not as though Mike took, I don't know, a bike lock and clouted him around the head or anything, which might have been excessive. It was just enough to prevent him from running. And that then allowed the police to apprehend. So whilst some people might watch that video and think there's an assault or something like that, I think the criticism is aimed at the wrong person. Clearly, the police were interested in apprehending this chap who ran away. Now, most, not necessarily all, but I would say the vast majority of people that run away from the police have something to hide. So that is my view. That is my take. I thought you'd find that interesting. I'll link the original video below and Cycling Mikey's channel here on YouTube as well. If you do find these interesting, please do pop the like button and subscribe.